Hey everyone, how's things? Welcome to The View. Just wanted to put a really quick video out to talk about the press conference that Marcelo Bielsa called for tonight. This was incredible. So for those of you who've missed it or haven't caught up yet, let's have a little chat about that. This is incredible. So Bielsa called a press conference for 5 p.m. today. Now, Phil Hay mentioned that it was Spygate, and other people were rumouring that possibly it was to announce the sign of Kike Casillas from Real Madrid. But what happened was Bielsa came out and did a press conference to the media and admitted that he has spied on every championship team we've played this season. Now there's that word that we talked about in my other video about spying. Analysis, watching it, whatever you want to call it. That's the terms that are being used. So I was out working today. I heard that he had admitted to this. I saw the Sky Sports headline, which all the 2-bit tin pot commentators have reported on since, that said Bielsa admits to spying on every championship team. And I went, oh no, we're in so much trouble. Why would we admit to this? If we got caught doing it against Derby, fair enough. But why admit to it in general for every game? And then what happened was an absolute masterclass in tactical awareness, tactical analysis, mind games, and a man who has put every other coach in the championship and all the 2-bit tin pot commentators like Collymore and Genius and even Stuart Pearce's ridiculous comments this morning, he's put them all in the halfpenny place, because this is incredible. I'm going to take people through Phil Hay, his tweets on what has happened, because reading it all together, this is incredible. I went from being desperately fearful of Leeds getting absolutely hammered to being very smug and chirpy and thinking this man's a genius. And I don't use that term too lightly. I think some people throw it around like it's nothing, but we'll go through this. So Phil Hay's first tweet, and I'll run you through the tweets real quickly. So Bielsa says, my goal is to make the EFL investigation easier. He says Leeds have watched training sessions on opposition before every game they've played. By doing this, he assumes the possible sanctions that the authorities might bring. So this is hands in the air kind of stuff, and he's basically saying that he's done it. Sky have taken this and ran with it. Now they haven't ran with the rest of it up until now anyway. So Bielsa says, I don't want to compare my behaviour with previous behaviour that are similar. I heard that there are others which also affected fair play, but absolutely I don't want to defend myself by attacking others. Again, very moral of him, considering the lack of morality people are complaining about him with. Bielsa then goes on to say, what I've done is not illegal. This is vitally important. It's not illegal. He then says it's not specified in any rules and is not restrained. We can discuss it. It's not seen as a good thing, but it's not a violation of the law. I know that not everything that is legal is good to do. He then goes on to say, but not all wrong things that you do are done with bad intentions. Bielsa reading from a statement here, what Phil Hay says is, if you observe something without the authorities or the people being observed, we call it spying and we say it's spying. I can't say it's the right thing to do, but I'm going to explain that I didn't have bad intentions or get an advantage. Now at this point I'm assuming he's just going to go through the reasons why he's going to talk about the country he's done it in and make an apology, but he doesn't. It goes on. Bielsa then says, when you watch an opponent, you're looking for specific information. You want to know what the starting 11 is, what his tactical system is going to be used, and the strategic decision taken on set pieces. Straightforward enough. When you got to watch a training session of an opponent, you get the information the day before a game, or you confirm the information you already have. And that becomes really interesting in a minute, because Bielsa goes on to show us how much information he has on these guys. So then Bielsa says, apart from the players in a staff, you have around 20 people. These 20 people create a volume of information which is absolutely not necessary. It doesn't define the path of a competition. Why do it? He says, why we do that? Because we feel guilty if we don't do enough work ethic, okay? We think by doing that and gathering information, we get closer to a win, even though we know it's not true. And in my case, it's because I'm stupid enough to to engage in this sort of behaviour, which was an interesting comment, I thought, for a manager to make until the very end. We'll get to that. Bielsa is now using a big screen, Phil Hay says, to demonstrate his analysis, and said he's showing us what has taken more than 300 hours of work. This was incredible. You can see it here. He's running through the information on the games, gathered by information, using Derby as an example. What he's actually done is he's basically told the whole Football League how Derby play. Bielsa says his staff have watched 51 games Derby played last season. Each game took 4 hours to analyze. That's 4 hours by 51. Why did he do that? Because he thinks this is professional behaviour. It's to try and avoid being ignorant about the competition that you're playing in. Very sensible. Bielsa asks journalists to pick a specific game, Chelsea 3 Derby 2 from last season, showing us a starting lineup, the data from the game, substitutions and changes in formation. After that, he then moved on to Manchester United 2 Derby County 2, more extensive analysis, and Bielsa says, "What I'm trying to do is convince you that what I say about not getting an unfair advantage was true. In the 51 games we watched the players who are still at Derby playing." Bielsa says, "This is not very useful. It doesn't put you in a better condition to win a game, but the way you respect football is to make the effort to know the English players in the team. I can't speak English, but I can speak about the 24 teams in the championship." He's doing his homework. Now, you will remember that Bielsa, before he met the Leeds delegation to take the job in the first place, had watched every game that Leeds had played last season, including pre-season friendlies, so he is detailed. Bielsa then shows them some video clips, which was very interesting. Goes through the match scores. There's the video clips. So now showing them video clips in Manchester United game. This is why each game takes 4 hours, he says. It's a way to get to know the opponent. Then he shows data on which players have missed which games, their minutes on the pitch, and he says, "I feel ashamed to have to tell you this," as if he should say that he assumes the press should already know this. Phil Hay says that this was an incredible statement by Phil Hay. He says, "This is a spectacular takedown of Spygate, now showing us percentages for the number of times Derby have used certain formations and which players have moved around in different positions." He says this gives you priorities. Phil Hay then goes on to say that we're now seeing analysis of a formation Derby have played against to try and establish what structure they struggle against. All this information, he doesn't memorise it, but if I have a doubt, I can ask myself a question and then look back at the document. So what he's saying is that he doesn't memorise all this data that he gets, he looks at it, and if he doesn't remember something or he wants something specific, he has the detail there to look back on. So then Phil Hay goes on to tweet that Bielsa on how he gathers his information. So Bielsa says, "From the analysis of the games, I'm doing this because I consider that you don't believe me. I wanted to give you factual elements to convince you that I'm telling the truth." Now looking at a file for the game between Derby and Bristol City, same information, same analysis, same 4 hours spent on compiling it, the detail is almost incomprehensible. Phil Hay then says that Bielsa shows a video to demonstrate what Harry Wilson is planning to do when he raises both hands before taking a corner. It's a specific play which Derby employ. Bielsa says you cannot analyse football if you do not know who each player is. Phil Hay says in the video that he shows is 41 minutes long, made up of Derby attacks over the course of the season. And then Bielsa says, when you see 41 minutes, you see the path that the opponent attacks and you see the defensive weaknesses. His staff then condense the video into 8 minutes for the players to watch. The players also get a 7 to 8 minute video looking at defensive points, and Bielsa says the idea is to give the players a look at an opponent in 15 minutes. So Phil Hay says they're now going through Derby formations and showing who plays where, how it changes. He knows how many minutes each player has played in each position. You sort of wonder if even Lampard knows that much about his team. That's from Phil Hay. And this is quite remarkable, because this is really showing that having 51 games but analysing to that level of detail, Bielsa really has made sure that every possible avenue has been explored. But obviously, games play out differently and not guaranteed, but huge uber level of detail here. You see the pictures that we're looking at here. It's just, this press conference is mind-boggling, the absolute level of detail that Bielsa has gone into. Phil Hay says Bielsa, and this is the rub. Bielsa says, I don't need to go and watch a training session of any opponent to know how the opponent plays. Having seen this detail, you kind of got to believe him. He then goes on to tell a great story about himself and Guardiola. Bielsa says he showed Guardiola his analysis of after the Bilbao lost to Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final. Guardiola had a look at it and he told him, you know more about Barcelona than me. Bielsa then said, but this is useless information because Barcelona scored 3 goals. So Bielsa is now showing us a massive pile of paper dossiers put together for friendlies over the summer, games last season. There are stacks of them, says Phil. I want to be judged on my intentions. For me, I feel I'm not guilty. I don't have bad intentions. That's what Bielsa says. You can see the dossiers here on the table. Mother of God, look at the amount of detail. That's just on the friendlies in the summer. So then Bielsa goes on to show the analysis of the Derby corners and free kicks. He goes, was it useful? Well, no, because half the goals they conceded were against set pieces from Derby. So the goalkeeping coach, Marcus Abad, is running through this section. Stoker up next for Leeds, but they've changed their manager. So since Nathan Jones has taken charge last week, Bielsa and his staff have now analysed every game that he had as Luton manager. And you've got to think that's got to rattle him a little bit going into the game if he had certain tactics and now he knows Bielsa's seen them. Can he change in time? So Bielsa thanked everyone for their patience, tells us that he's stupid for doing this analysis. He opens the door and walks out of the room, not the club. And they're done. So Phil Hayes says this comes down to anxiety for Bielsa. He says he analyses all of this because he's anxious to make sure that he's got all his bases covered. I think the highlight of this time, says Phil, was the mic drop at the very end where Bielsa walked out. Thank you. Gone. Incredible stuff there from Bielsa. Super amount of detail, and I think it comes down to this, and we look at it from this point of view. After seeing all of that detail, really does an hour hanging around outside a fence with a pair of binoculars at Frank Lampard's Derby's training ground really make that much difference when you see the amount of analysis that Bielsa has gone to here? This is uber level of detail. 51 games per club, 4 hours analysis per game. Absolutely insane amount of detail, and it does make you wonder how lucky we are to have a manager of this level at our club and the amount of detail he goes into. I wonder, are the managers in the clubs around the championship now looking at themselves going, well, we're not top of the league because we didn't go to that much effort and put that much detail into it. Obviously it's not an exact science, it clearly isn't because we've lost some games this season, but my God, can you see why we've won games as well? The level of information that he's put together has, if nothing else, shown all the 2-bit tin pot commentators like Collymore, Genius, Pearce, all the big players, as they like to think of themselves, who never made it as coaches and whose football careers were, didn't ever really peaked. Takes their comments and really puts them in context to go, did you actually think that Leeds beat Derby because he looked at someone through a fence? Did you actually think Sky Sports headline of Bielsa admits to spying on every club, that looking at training sessions were the reason that Leeds are top of the league? Now that you look at that detail, now that you look at the amount of effort, the diligence, the absolute uber analysis of games that him and his team have gone into, and the work they put in to making sure the players are prepared, kind of makes those comments look silly now, doesn't it? Like, these guys want to have a look at themselves. Collymore's already ranting on Twitter about every club in the championship should be onto their lawyers now because he's read the Sky Sports headline and he hasn't listened to the press conference, or maybe he's not intelligent enough to understand that. The sheer lack of intelligence by some of the comments that have been said are incredible about docking points, reversing fixture scores, kicking them out of the league, massive fines, banning Bielsa from stadiums. Bonkers. The complete lack of education is incredible. Remember one thing, Leeds have not broken any rules here. Bielsa has shown that little bit, the Spygate thing, is now been blown out of proportion when you see the amount of detail he's gone into. He did not have to do this today. I personally think the nickname El Loco applies to the situation because I think he was mad to do this, but he's done it. And I've gone, as I said, from having the initial thought process of, oh God, we're in serious trouble, why is he doing this, don't admit to it, to being, this is incredible. This man's a genius, and oh my God, what an incredible, absolutely incredible press conference. And I'm so proud to have this guy at our club. We are very lucky people to have Bielsa here. So I'll wrap it up there. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you're new around here, hit subscribe if you want to see more videos. Let me know what you want to see. If you want any video types you want to see or discussions on players you want to talk about, let me know. Stick a like on the video if you fancy it. I would appreciate it. And let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you all really soon.